morning, everyone. Welcome to the Beyond the Red Door podcast. I am your host, Dominick, and I'm joined by my fantabulous co-host, Austin Dye. We thought we'd switch it up today with me starting it. And today we have a very special guest today. We have an undergraduate, Ty Meyer. Ty is currently our VP of Programming and VP MemDev.
No, he's the VP of MemDev right now.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Well, he started as VP of Programming, but he's transitioning into VP of MemDev. Recently he went to CLA where I met him officially for the first time. How are you guys doing today?
I'll let you go first, Ty.
I'm pretty good. Besides like papers that are due next week, like it's pretty easy.
I'm doing well as well. It's a weird time right now. All the kids are getting sick at school. Like the plague is like going around. So I've just been trying to like isolate and stay not sick. But I think I'm getting like the residual effects. Like I have a little bit of sniffliness and a cough here or there. But
Platteville plague started here too, so
oh god,
It's happening at work. All my coworkers with kids, they've been working remotely almost for the past like the entire week.
Mm-hmm. I think, dude, I'm gonna say this here. Like, I think it has to do with this like false spring. Like we went from like super negative colds to like, oh, it got really warm, so then everyone got really sick, and then now it's like get back to normal. It's just like whatever. The bodies can't adjust.
It is, yeah. It's that too quick. I mean, it happens to me. I like definitely get the sniffles, or like I feel really like lightheaded, a little bit of fever and everything when we get to that warm to cold, warm to cold. It's really rough.
Yeah, does a number on my body as well. It's just too much. I just want regular spring to start. Like, you know, I don't need to go back to a cold snap again. Hopefully it stays this way.
12 season.
Yeah. Well, Ty, like Dom said, like we're excited to have you on. I think we've been trying to like reach out and get more undergrads on the podcast, and you've been one that like has always, I think, wanted to be on. Like I'm pretty sure I've gotten like your name a couple of times, and we just had to find a time to get you. And now we're getting you after you've gone through like this whole spring of just doing a bunch of stuff. So now you get to come talk about it all. But you know, before we dive into like all that different stuff, why don't you talk to us about your journey to Platteville and your journey into SigEp? Like, how did that all come about, and how did that start off?
So I live up by Stout, so none of my friends came down to Platteville, obviously, because Eau Claire and Stout are there to choose from. But coming down here, I had to hit the hard reset. No friends, nothing to do. But I was a BMS applicant at the time, so needing to go to those events to qualify further on the scholarship, I met some pretty good people. Will Foucault was the first guy I met during trivia, and he's a pretty personality guy. So he was really fun and really got me hooked in. I met Niles during the interview process, and as a fellow cyber major, he was really easy to talk to, and I just really fit into the guys. So it was a pretty easy choice after I'd been around to a couple events when Kyle Brown sat down and walked me through the paperwork.
That's like what? So obviously you were saying like you had all your friends went to Stout. Was it because of your major that you decided to come to Platteville? Like, I mean, I guess I knew that there was like cyber security kind of stuff at Platteville, but I didn't know it was like.
So I originally was gonna go for forensics, which is only at Platteville, kind of, and then after the like orientation when they were talking about what you need to do and stuff, it wasn't as appealing. So I switched to cyber, which I had always been interested in computers. So it wasn't that hard of a switch, but like different fields. But I kept the forensics as a minor, so I still like play out that path of life kind of. But that's the main reason why I chose Platteville. My dad also went here back in the day, so.
Okay. Yeah. So you got some ties there.
Yeah.
I guess like so. I mean, I guess you said like it wasn't necessarily like that hard of a switch, but like, what is I don't even know. I guess like the interconnectivity between like the cybersecurity. Like, what kind of like are you still taking like some? I mean, obviously you have a minor in forensics too, but like, do you still take like even if you didn't have the forensics, like would you still be taking some kind of like criminal justice-esque classes for your cybersecurity, or is it just like
so the cyber major you can either do the CJ emphasis or not,
Okay.
I didn't do the emphasis because then I get to do all the cyber classes. If you do the CJ emphasis, you like cut half the classes. So by doing the minor, I can do all of the coding classes, but also throw in a little bit of fun on the side.
Okay. I mean, hell, that makes sense to me. It's such a unique major. I feel like, Dom, did we have anybody during our time that did like cybersecurity? I swear somebody
It
did.
wasn't offered that early on, if I remember right. I'm pretty sure
Oh,
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
only like
newer
5 years old.
major.
oh, okay, okay. Maybe it was somebody
And
that
now
was
There
we
like,
may
got
be
like
a
7 in
couple
the
coming
chapter,
in.
so
oh my gosh. I had we talked with Ryan obviously on the last one, and I think he talked a little bit
mhm.
about this, but even like in conversation with like some of the other undergrads, like I feel like the diversity that of majors like in the chapter is at a point where like it never was before. Like obviously, like we were always known as like the engineering like fraternity basically because it was just all engineering guys. But now like when I've talked with some of the guys and just hearing like the different things, it's just been ridiculous. Like to the point where you know, like when we were talking like at the transition retreat, we were talking about like the scholar stuff, and I
Mhm.
was like, well, we have some people that just like have no experience with some of these classes anymore. Whereas in the past we have probably like 5 or 6 people that have taken some of the classes. So it's just a cool shift to see that like there's
Yeah, we're
that much
definitely not
diversity now.
just engineers anymore.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, you
this
guys
The
are
nerd
dipping
diversity
into
crowd.
it.
was really helping you guys, honestly. There's a couple talks definitely at CLA talking about how like a fraternity with the exact same majors is not going to help the chapter grow.
Mhm.
Like
I
it's
mean,
really having that diversity in each section is really going to benefit overall in the long run of like having your hands in so many different places.
mhm.
Much
I
more
mean you can.
skills to share too, throughout stuff. Because like Owen, our bio major, did his ELA a couple week like last semester on birds, and like you're not gonna get that from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you said too, like you know, even when you guys are bringing in professors and stuff to like come and give talks, like you have more of a spread of people that can just come in and talk about something random.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
um,
our little reach gets further every year.
Mm-hmm.
hey, as long as that continues, like when I mean, can't complain about it. It's awesome to see. Um, all right, so you know, you talked about you were a BMS scholar. Did you end up winning a scholarship?
No,
Oh,
I got SigEp instead, so a win in my eyes.
there you go. See, okay, that's good to hear. See, that just shows that you know, like we're not biasing the scholarships towards the guys that join. Like we try to spread them out. You know,
Oh
obviously we
yeah.
want them to join if they win a scholarship, but like it doesn't always happen. Okay, so you know, you came in fall 23, right? That was when you joined.
Yep.
So you came in fall 23. Um, you kind of jumped in like basically with 2 feet, like we talked about. Like you've had a really decorated SigEp kind of career. Talk to us about that first semester and like how you know how you kind of made your decision making about getting involved in a bunch of different things.
Yeah, so I've always been a person that just likes to do like see as much as I can. So I was on a bunch of cabinets right away. My classes weren't exactly aligned at that time. I still had afternoon classes, which really throws off afternoon activities, but I got to do a bunch of stuff. One thing was being a part of Will's programming cabinet at the time, and he definitely trained me for the role in hindsight. But I did a lot of cabinets. I went to as many events as I could, got to know as many people, flew through my Sigma challenge. I was one of the few people that finished, me, Logan, Nate, and a few others. We finished within like 2 months. Um,
Sheesh.
really did as much as we could to get involved. So then when elections rolled around by November, it was a no-brainer that um, I wanted to pursue a position and get as involved as I could. Um, so for the first election, me and Logan both ran for programming and recruitment. And programming comes first in elections, obviously. And so when we're both in the hall while they're discussing us, we had looked at each other and he's like, I want programming. I'm like, yeah, I want recruitment more than programming. Who would want programming? And then he won recruitment and I won programming. Um, I'm very happy with the decision now, but it was just kind of ironic that we got the swapped roles. But then I was thrown into the exec world. 3 months into SigEp. So that was very interesting, especially because spring has a lot of activities that are only in spring. Spring
Mm.
banquet, hadn't seen one before. Time to plan one. Um, Lots of other events, camping, etc. So it was a time to really go into the deep end for sure.
Yeah, and I think when Ryan was on last time, and we kind of talked about the there was kind of a necessity for like a bunch of like those freshmen to run because of like the makeup of the chapter at the time. Like we had a bunch of guys that just graduated or were going to graduate in the winter,
Yeah,
and
only two juniors and seniors can't run, so it really put everyone on sophomore and freshman. So we had a very young e-board that year.
yeah. So, talk to us about like that kind of experience, being like, again, that young and coming into this e-board with, the couple of guys. I think there was like 3 or 4 of them that were upperclassmen at the time to kind of give you guys some guidance on that. Like, tell us about, some of that stuff, the trials, tribulations that you had to kind of go through.
Yeah, so because our e-board was so young, PDK, the president at the time, definitely had to be a little more hands-on with us. We had a lot more one-on-ones at the time to make sure we were thriving, weren't too stressed, like we're taking care of everything. Um, it was a very collaborative e-board because everyone kind of needed everyone's help at the time. And with the seniors zoning out as their semesters wrapped up, it really did come down to just us sophomores and freshmen and the juniors there at the time. Not that all the seniors disappeared, but there was a lot of that. And then also a lot of us freshmen, I know me specifically, like definitely just asking for help as much as we could. As I mentioned, like spring banquet, I hadn't seen one before, so Jace Joyner had to pretty much walk me through what it looks like, how to run one. Will passed me down so many files about how to plan one, just so I could even have any remote chance of pulling one off.
Yeah, I mean, like he took the reins and ran with it. I think that, and that's the nice thing too, is that yeah, with some of the older guys that couldn't necessarily run for a position, at least they stayed involved enough to kind of help give some of that guidance and like help you navigate some of that, especially like I couldn't
We had
imagine.
a
I
lot
think
of help from them for sure.
yeah, for sure. Like I mean, programming was never my world, so like I didn't have to try to navigate that, especially as a freshman. I just like couldn't imagine that'd be a tough job for sure.
I
But
found it
yeah.
so fun because I would end up procrastinating with other stuff with my programming work. So like, oh, I could do this assignment due in like 2 weeks, or I could just like really flesh out this event for this week, and it would lean that way. Not that I ever like fell behind on homework, but like
Mhm.
I was always doing something for programming at the time, which was another plus of being young because we had so many new ideas that we would try out. Definitely tried some wild events.
Yeah, what is the wildest event that you guys tried and was successful? How about that?
We were about to do an egg night where we were gonna do like egg games from like egg toss to like save the egg to other just like egg themed stuff. We were gonna do it. We called it off because the weather got really bad, but that was in the books and we had it pretty thoroughly planned.
I had in mind that you were talking about like an egg drop or something. Like everyone designs their thing, and I could see that going
I was
crazy with
thinking
That's
the.
one thing we were gonna do as part of it.
Uh-huh.
I was thinking egg painting. Like Easter's coming around, we're gonna paint some eggs. Maybe have some like story time or something, or maybe cooking. I don't know. That's where my thoughts went, but I like that. Those are really good ideas.
What was I mean, so like obviously you said like that one because of the weather and stuff. Like, what was an event that you guys, or like another event that you guys wanted to do that just like was not as successful as like you thought it was going to be?
You're making me really stretch back here now. Um,
It's okay if you can't think of one. I was just curious. Like because I feel like over the last couple of years, like I've seen some of the events that you guys have tried that I'm like, oh, I'm curious how this is going to go, and then they ended up being super successful. Like you guys did like the deep frying events that have been going on. Like people
yeah,
love
yeah,
that
yeah. The
stuff.
you bring it, we fry it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you guys did in the fall. You guys did the you guys did like a nacho one too, right? Didn't you guys do like a nacho table or something? Or am I
Oh,
making that up?
we were gonna. We ended up. not being able to because of budget, but we did have it on the books. We were also
Oh,
going to
okay.
do that during my term when we did like Super Bowl bingo, which
Uh,
continued this year. So that's
okay.
always a good time to get all the guys together just to watch the Super Bowl and check off our commercial bingo cards.
Yeah. I mean, well, we can talk. We can kind of get into this now with like transition to like this new e-board. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, you guys are just like, I just feel like the chapter is like bringing a lot of new ideas right now. There's a lot of creative guys and stuff that's going on, but we'll get into that kind of stuff. Talk to us about, okay, so you had this successful spring. You get into, well, let's go chronologically. Let's step a
Okay,
little bit
okay.
back. So you get through the spring. Again,
Hmm.
freshman e-board position. You applied and were able to go to Ruck. Talk to us about Ruck. We've had a couple of different Ruck scholars on, but you kept the tradition alive of having guys that go every single year. We had two people go, and you were one of
Yeah.
them. So, talk to us about that experience, some of the stuff that you learned from it, like maybe some of your biggest takeaways and what you're able to bring
Hmm.
back. I feel like I'd have to look at the track record too, but like especially as a freshman, like I can't think of many freshmen that we've had that go. Like usually it's
Yeah, there weren't many
upperclassmen.
freshmen for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So like it just kind of shows like the dedication to SigEp that you had and like the role that you were holding in the chapter at the time, like how regarded people think of you. So yeah, talk to us about Ruck.
Yeah, so Will and Carter had such a good time at Ruck beforehand that they really tried to get as many people to apply as possible. And like you said, not many freshmen go. So like, yeah, I'll fill it out, whatever. I filled it out in one night while most people fill it out in a week. So like I tried on the application, but it's not like I was like, oh, let's make sure like I put my best foot forward, but I definitely didn't like spend like a week working on this application. And then spring break hit, and me and some guys were going to go to the Dells for a trip. And just as I'm about to leave, I look at my phone and it says the email, "Congrats, you've been accepted." So I'm like freaking out. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, oh my gosh!" I'm telling my parents like, "I got accepted to go to Virginia." I forgot I didn't tell them I applied. So they're like, "Do you mean you're going to Virginia?" So I had to like go back and explain what Ruck was, but that's how I found out. And then me and Andy got to go back in June. It would have been,
Mm-hmm.
and that was really cool. It's the things where like, see, we always push that we're a national fraternity. It's a national fraternity, but it's not for events like CLA and Ruck where you actually get to really feel it. Like
Mm-hmm.
we had a layover flight in South Carolina, and when me and Andy find a couple other SigEps there because we all had to wear the shirts, um, and all of a sudden more and more just start piling in, and then eventually there's a SigEp roadblock in the middle of the terminal because we're all just standing in the middle talking. And then we get on the plane, and half the plane is all just SigEps, and you're sitting there listening to people mention like, "Hey, I know that term," or "I know that event, Burning Heart. We do that."
Uh-huh.
It was just that was a fun flight to be on. Um, and then my group was really cool. We had these huge dorms. I was paired up with this guy from New York. They usually try to pair your dorm mate with someone that's older or younger, so it's opposite of you, and then chapter size is opposite. So I was from this chapter with a huge New York chapter, which was cool. And then I was in a group with Velpo and a couple of the other better chapters out there. And then they put us also with all the new chapters coming up. So we had Quinnipiac and etc. with us, and that was a really interesting group. We had two excellent facilitators. The leadership stuff was really cool. They had us working from 8 a.m. You would get up to 10 p.m. You're done with activities and lectures. So like they're making sure you're learning stuff, and there was so much stuff we took in. Um, the parts that always just stick to me is we now have a Ruck group chat that me and the guys from there still talk to and
Mm-hmm.
talk about the wild things happening at our chapters. Like some of the things those other chapters get up to are nice, fun shenanigans, but um, nothing too bad, of course. But definitely took in a lot of ideas to bring back to the chapter. Building a lot of confidence. Like we mentioned, like freshman exec is a lot to do. It's a lot to take in, and really just like sitting in with a couple. I think we had two other freshmen in my group, and sitting with them and like kind of connecting over the exact terms we've had was really interesting, and just built confidence in that, hey, I can do this thing. So I was ready to go and swinging harder the next term, and then got a lot of recruitment stuff, obviously.
Hmm.
I took a couple of the games we played there and tried to put in one of our brother bonding nights later, which was interesting. I had a lot of people come up to me afterwards and say like, "Wow, that was really cool." So mixed results, but overall it was pretty cool. Yeah, Ruck was unforgettable. We did so much stuff throughout the time, and then checking out Zollinger's headquarters, like got to
Hmm.
run into Jace and Carter there because they were doing their RD training. So Jace and Carter got to give me my Zollinger's tour. Like, can't ask for a better tour guide than those two.
I thought that's got to be an awesome experience for sure. um, yeah, I mean, I never personally went to Ruck. I know Dom went to Ruck. So yeah, it just from everything I've heard, you have similar takeaways to what a lot of people get out of it. And I think like obviously, like we'll talk about this later too, but it sounds like you're going to Conclave, or at least planning on going to Conclave, and I'd be curious to hear like what that perspective is as a like having that Ruck experience and then going there, because I
It
went as
made
a rep.
CLA really interesting this year because I had three other guys from my Ruck group in my MemDev track this year. So running
Uh,
into them, like, hey, I know you, and like getting to catch up with them, it was weird going to a national event and recognizing people.
yeah, like for sure, that's gonna be like the biggest thing. Like I know, like I said, I went to Conclave. I mean, that's been a while now. I can't remember. It was like 2019. I'm sorry, I just swear there. But anyway, um, uh, going there and like going with a couple of guys like Klemp and Korberg, and like having them like also kind of finding their Ruck guys there and being able to meet up with them.
Yeah.
So like, because I'm sure most of those people are going to be going too. So yeah, it'll be a good experience for sure. All right, so went to Ruck, had a good summer, come back in the fall. Talk to us about that fall semester and then going into this next set of elections.
Yeah. So, um, we can go back and talk about it, but I got elected as UGC president
Oh,
back in April the
let's
term
talk. Let's
before.
talk about that first.
Oh,
Talk
okay,
about that
okay.
first.
Yeah. So, Um, on our campus, we have four Greek governance groups, United Greek Council being one of them. And PDK was the president at the time when I became a rep. And he really pushed me to um, get more involved in it. And I always found the more like all Greek side really interesting and intriguing. Like I've always believed in like one Greek like can't tear like one Greek can tear down all the Greeks. So you got to work together. And so I really believed in what UGC stood for. So PDK urged me to run, and it was me versus Brady for that election.
Oh, I
And
didn't know that.
I got to take it from him, but he ended up on my e-board anyway, so all good. But I won that too as a freshman, which was pretty unheard of too at the time. And
I didn't
getting thrown
realize you
into a
started that in
concrete.
the spring.
Yeah,
like
elections
like
are in April, so
oh my.
that's all freshman year too, Austin.
So you really just like loaded yourself up. You just like were like, I'm just gonna get the
Yeah.
most out of my college experience, which is obviously what we're hoping for. But like you were just like, I'm just gonna join everything. Like I'll figure it out.
Absolutely. I wanted to see as much as I could and do as much as I could. And everyone always joked I was going to find my tipping point. Haven't yet. Not that I want to find that tipping point, but so I got to be programming, UGC president, amongst other coordinator roles throughout the chapter too. So I did a lot at that time. Um, taking on UGC at that time, UGC was kind of in a spot where no one wanted to be there at the time. Like it's important, but it's boring at the end
You
of
know
the
what,
day.
Ty? I'll
20-minute
tell you.
meeting.
During our time, nobody else wanted to be there either. I think it's
Yep,
just the
yep.
trends. Like I was
Yeah,
I was a UGC rep for a little bit, and I was just like,
yeah.
I was like, what's the point of this? Like,
Yeah.
but
It's
but
not
at the
great
time,
usually.
yeah, it's not great usually, and I feel like at the time, like like people were still having socials and whatnot, but like they
Mhm.
weren't really throwing anything like for the Greek community. So then it was just like, well, what's the point of this? Like we already have our Panhellenic and our IFC and like
No.
all the other stuff. So yeah, just like was like is this actually important? Like, is it worth paying money into it? Like,
Yeah,
um,
so right away in the fall when we came back, the first big meeting we did was we invited as many Greeks as we could into the university rooms, and we had over 60 people there, and we ran this discussion where it was, what do you guys actually want from us? And that was pretty cool. We haven't had like a large Greek discussion in a while at Platteville, so that was really cool to see. And of course, the feedback we all knew, no one wants that many meetings. Like sometimes it's cool, too many meetings, too many meetings. So we just 2 weeks ago passed legislation to make it bi-weekly, whatnot. But also as part of that, we really played around with meeting structure because while other student governance orgs have a lot to talk about, UGC, we had this social, we did this event, no report, etc. Move on. You probably know that, Austin. But
yeah, pretty much.
um, me and my e-board really strive to try to get quality out of it or some sort of substance out of it. So we introduced discussion periods. So during discussion items, there wouldn't be any like actual stuff, but like, hey, I want you to find 3 orgs you haven't talked to this week, and you're gonna talk to what recruitment issues you're having right now, and then bring it to the big group. And people, based off our midterm reports, really liked that because they were actually talking to other orgs and felt like they were getting some ideas. Um, then also as part of reports we started prompting them, so every week with their report now they have a given topic that they must cover in their report. So when banquet season was coming, where are you guys going for your banquet and what's your theme? And usually they just say like, we had banquet, but then discussions are way much more in depth and you actually get to hear what they're doing at their banquets. So UGC kind of got to go back on the upswing a little bit with engagement.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's great to see.
Yeah.
Like, sorry, go ahead, Dom. I cut you off.
Oh, no, 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 you're good. You're good. I was just saying that's really nice. I mean, yeah, no one's ever really wanted to do UGC, and you guys really taking the step forward of trying to make it either more worth it or just changing at least what it is, and that's really phenomenal to see. I am ecstatic to see that.
Yeah, and then as of now, because there's 4 Greek governance groups and they all kind of do the same thing, right now we're in the midst of many meetings of how that could be restructured to hopefully get it down to just 2 rather than 4. So that's the current project I've been working on, all of that stuff. So I get to hold another all Greek summit, but just for the presidents. So get to run all sorts of fun stuff. But
Wow.
all the presidents, I think, and I are going to get in a room and start hashing out what we want Greek governance to actually look like and kind of start from scratch because it needs a hard reset because it doesn't do much right now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, I remember a time too where like when like we were paying like our IFC dues and stuff, right? Too, and like at the time, like IFC also didn't really do a whole lot. So I remember
Still
like
doesn't, but
me,
it's changing.
yeah, like but like I remember a time when like it was like me, Korberg, I think Jake Current, like a couple of us went and we had a discussion with at the time like the Greek life advisor like Val, and we're just like what is the point of this? Like really, like we're paying dues into it. We have to pay more dues because our chapter was like
Yep.
slightly bigger, and it was like we're not getting anything out of it. Where is this money going? Like we're required to be a part of it for to like be in a fraternity, but it was like
Yep.
we have no value. This is just money that we could throw into our budget somewhere else and do something. And we had a like we were like rallying, like let us not be in an IFC. Like we had talked to guys from nationals, and they're like, yeah, you guys don't need to be in an IFC. Like that's kind of bogus. And I was like, okay, cool. Like we have some people on our side, but we never ended up going through with that because we couldn't get the support. But
Yeah, the goal by not having 4 orgs try to plan all Greek socials, they could actually probably happen. And because IFC and WC have dues, they aren't restricted by SUFAC rules to like spend on stuff, so they can buy like food and other stuff and actually make good socials.
who would have thought? What a great idea.
Right?
That's a great idea.
Oh goodness. Well, I'm glad to hear that. That's on the upswing, and like Dom and I had a discussion a couple of podcast episodes ago about just like Greek life as a whole and like the direction that things have been going, and so like to hear that, like stuff might be on an upswing, and especially at Platteville is
Yeah.
always a good thing to hear. So,
Yeah, it's also fun to have all those connections now, which made, going back to your question earlier, programming in fall way easier, having like contacts of every single org, socials, boom, 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 getting them out. After it kind of fell off for a while with actually interacting with other orgs, we kind of backed ourselves into a corner with past reputations. So, reaching out and trying to fix those reputations and reconnecting with other Greek life, something I'm super passionate about. Obviously, I am with UGC, but beyond that, just getting the chapter back connected with other people, really fun, and it definitely makes programming social so much easier when I have a whole other governance org I'm running with everybody in it.
I bet. I bet.
Yeah, I remember
Um,
one time it was like in the spring semester when I was living at the house that people came over for Greek Week, but only but they were the only chapter on campus that knew about Greek Week. Nobody else
Hmm.
touched it. Nobody else knew what it was, and so we quickly had to set something up. But I'm pretty sure it was just like the 1 day thing rather than the entire week because nobody knew about it.
Yeah, because of like low involvement in UGC and stuff, it ended up being pretty much all SigEps. Like we didn't want it to just be us planning Greek week, but it ended up being that last semester. And so I kind of dissolved the programming committee and just brought it back to main UGC to give them a point of being there. Wild thought, I know. Use the um, council for what it's as a council, but so now we're in works of doing Greek Week right now, and that's fun to actually get more involvement from other orgs. We voted on themes this year, so this year's theme's gonna be Monsters University.
I love that. It's my favorite frat movie.
Exactly, exactly. So we're gonna have some fun with that one. There's a lot of ways we can take events, so we're hoping to like make Greek Week big again.
Cool. That's awesome. I mean, like I said, I just love to hear that. Like it's cool. Like you said at the beginning, like when the Greek community is like all together and like able to do stuff together and are supportive of each other, like it just makes the experience that much better for everybody, not just our chapter. Um, so yeah, I mean that's fantastic to hear. It's awesome that you guys have been able to kind of take that direction there. Um, okay, so now let's go to the fall stuff again,
So,
and well, I mean, you kind of covered fall a little bit. Let's talk about this
yeah.
next set of elections. So, so you come back in, you're programming. I think you ran for like multiple positions too, right? Because you ran for programming again. I know that,
Yes.
and then you ran for MemDev.
So I ran for president versus Ryan.
Oh, that's
And
what it
then
was. Yep.
I stepped out of programming a couple days before that election. Um, I really enjoyed programming. Homecoming was an absolute blast. Definitely like wouldn't trade it for the world. I got so much out of programming, but while I was good at it and people wanted to see me in there again, I personally felt that if the same person was programming twice, you would fall into a loop of the same events. And I wanted fresh ideas and also just me personally. I wouldn't grow if I was doing the same thing for another full year. So I decided pretty close to the election to pull out after I was pretty happy with the candidates in there and
Mhm.
let someone else take it so I could try something new and actually not just repeat another year because I love programming. I would do it again, but to me it just felt wrong to take it again.
Yeah, I mean, and Dom can kind of speak into this too because you were actually did programming stuff, but like there was a time in the chapter where like people just didn't want to do stuff like consecutively, which like is
Hmm.
understandable because like I do agree. I feel like it's like a double edged sword, right? Like for some of the positions, it kind of makes sense to run maybe 2 years in a row and try to get it because like you can build on some of that continuity. Like I was a big advocate of like if you wanted to keep stuff going strong with recruitment, like a recruitment guy that is like really positive and wants to run a couple of times and keep them in the position, it's not
Hmm.
necessarily a bad idea. But at the same time, you're not really planning as many events with recruitment like you guys are doing a lot more with the programming side of things. So I could that makes sense, and
Hmm.
that you'd kind of want to, or you might feel burnt out after a while if you do it back to back.
Yeah, I never got the burnout, thankfully. But yeah, with that election, I ran for MEmDev amongst comms and recruitment, but those were later, and I walked away with MEmDev. I was uncontested for that one, but I was pretty confident. I worked pretty closely with Ryan by the end of his term to help him sort out national stuff.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even I feel like I obviously didn't have like the
Hmm.
votes and stuff in front of me for the actual elections, but even like the running for president, like I felt like was pretty close from people I talked to, like the
Yeah,
undergrads. Like it
me and
seems like
Ryan went in the hallway while they were discussing, and we showed each other our presentations during like the 10-minute discussion, and we ran on almost the exact same points. We're
mhm.
gonna had pretty much the same ideas, so it was shocking how close we were. We both like took our own approaches, obviously, but we pretty much kind of ran on the same campaign accidentally because obviously we didn't talk to each other about what we were gonna run on. But
Yeah, and like I said, it seemed like going into it, like it really like again, some years like you can kind of like feed out like who's
yeah,
gonna kind of take some positions, but I think going into like the night of elections or the night before, I was like had talked to some people and I was like, we're not sure. Like it is very it's gonna come down to those speeches and who is able to do the
yeah.
convincing to the questions that are asked. So um,
Hmm.
it stinks that you fell a little short, but like I'm sure that you've still got 2 years, so like I'm sure that you're
Yeah,
probably
this
gonna run
time.
again. Yeah, like you've been slowly just building up this repertoire of leadership positions that are gonna give you the skills. But I mean, again, it's not bad to be well rounded in kind of what you're
Yeah.
doing. Um,
Yeah, MemDev also was kind of a nice counterpart to programming too, because programming is a very outward role. You're doing a lot on the front end. Everyone's seeing stuff. You're putting stuff on the calendar every week.
mhm.
While MDev's a lot more on the back end, you don't physically do that much. You're more managing coordinators. You're running your little BMP in the background. And yes, I'm running a couple events here and there, and I'm doing stuff. It's not like I'm just sitting there, but it's a lot more back end and reserved. So it's a very different type of a very different position, in my opinion.
Mhm.
Um, so it's very interesting getting to play out a more back end role than front end vice president doing lots of stuff.
Yeah. I'm gonna step back a little bit and let you guys go on this MemDev rant here, because like I said, Ryan came on and he and Dom discussed this quite heavily, and I'm curious on like obviously you've only been in the position for like 2 months ish, three
Yeah, two
months ish,
months
I guess
about it.
now. So just talk to us about how that's kind of going. I think you guys are doing are you guys doing another pilot now?
Are we?
I don't know. I was just asking. I feel like I'm constantly hearing about pilots you guys are involved in. So maybe not from MemDev
The
specifically,
list is
but
countless.
yeah.
I can tell you if we're in another one, but yeah, Memdev, I had a pretty easy handoff. Ryan did a great job of taking what Nationals had given him, and he had a lot to sift through. And by the time I took position, we kind of knew what worked and what didn't. So my job was really just take what works and run with it, and then restructure a couple shortcomings we had had in the past. So whether that was fixing up our challenges to be a little more activity and more fun so it didn't feel like a class, or how we actually wanted to track progress, because with Nationals removing the app, there was a lot of how do we want to run memdev. So I had a pretty solid start to run off of, and it's just been a lot of improving what Ryan left me.
Yeah. I mean, that's great to hear. Um, yeah, like I said, it sounded like, I mean, again, we can kind of get into the nitty gritty if you want, but like, it does really sound like we talked about it again in the last episode. We said like, we had a really good process for the BMP and like how we did stuff at Platteville. Like we had our spreadsheets, we did what we needed to do. It was all really nice. And then like to have it torn apart and like, oh, let's try something new and having to get it back up and running. Like he was talking about, or Ryan was talking a lot about like the morale and like finding how to drive people. And it
Hmm.
sounds like the chapter as a whole is like starting to, I shouldn't say like turning a leaf, but like the
Yeah.
morale is on the up and people are like
It definitely
more
helps that the
motivated.
pilot's all not a pilot anymore. It's the actual thing. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not every month we're have to do something new, or every week the pillars are changing. Like the 4 pillars are now set. What they want it to look like in the future set. So we're not changing every month. What we need to do. So it's a lot easier to get rid of the pilot mindset. Because, like you mentioned, we're in so many at the moment that people are sick of hearing we're in a pilot. This is what the pilot's doing. So now that it's just the thing, it definitely helps a lot to do that. And like you mentioned, we had a great system because of how much flexibility we have with this new pilot. We pretty much were able to kind of go back to that plus
Mhm.
some. So we got to go back to what worked and then add the new stuff they want to add or adapt to the new memdev material, the new pillars, etc.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the end, it worked out. We were able to get through it. We won a MemDev award, didn't we? At
Yeah,
Conclave. So
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Yep.
so like, obviously they recognized that like, okay, we were, we were still doing what we needed to do and
We
excelling
gave them a
enough
lot
at
of
it.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah, which is also great to hear. Yeah. So okay, so MemDev's going good. Now talk to us about this hectic period you've had in February. Like you've just been, or slightly before February, just like you've been
Yeah, yeah,
constantly going
yeah.
around. Tell us about your trips.
So on top of having all this governance restructure work going on right now, which is a mess to deal with. So many national orgs you got to work through and stuff. First week back, got to hit all my new classes, got to actually start my major because cyber majors don't start till you're a sophomore. But anyways, um, the first weekend back, we left Thursday as part of UGC. We went to Indianapolis for AFLV, which is a all Greek conference. It's the largest one, and it's pretty much CLA, but not for an exec training, but all Greek. So I got to sit. The
Hmm.
main keynotes were a lot about how to keep Greek life up to date in a digital world. What type of content works, which doesn't. As I was kind of telling you earlier, Austin, like I really took a lot of ideas of how to make posts better, our recruitment posts, leading
Hmm.
more funny, something that you're actually going to look at, not another Canva post that blends in with every other Greek life on our campus. um, Learned a lot about like crisis management, accountability, that stuff. It was interesting because while CLA I prefer for like getting to reunite with other SigEps, AFLV, because I didn't know anybody, it was just like a shock to see like bajillion orgs I don't even recognize the names of. And but we did get to run into a big group of SigEps. There was at least 4 tables of us because one of the lunches it was sit
Wow.
by your org. So got to reconnect with a couple SigEps. We got recognized for something we did. We don't know what SigEp did, but no SigEp. But yeah, that was a really cool opportunity to just learn a lot of skills and also get to see what Greek life looks like at a national scale. And I think they said there was over 2,200 undergrads there.
Wow.
So yeah, we were busy from Thursday to Sunday. We had modules, keynotes, etc. from 8 o'clock to like 4. So constantly working. And then there was some other just like personal ones. Like I went to a resume workshop one, another person went to a relationship based one. So it wasn't all just work related, I guess, but
Hmm.
yeah, that was really cool. That was me and Brady got to go for UGC. The Panalytic president went and the WGC president went. Um for all 4 orgs. IFC wasn't able to go. But that was just a good chance to get to know our e-board a little bit better at Platteville too. Um, and then the next week was a normal week. I got to sleep in that weekend. It was nice to catch a breath. And then the next weekend we go to CLA for Chicago for MemDev training. This CLA was interesting because the track was much better MemDev wise than programming. Programming was a lot of how to plan an event, basic stuff I think most people can do. But
Hmm.
MemDev was a lot more sharing. They kept us in the same small groups rather than rotating every hour. So I actually got to really know the people I was talking to. And I didn't need to restart every, hi, I'm Ty from SigEp, Wisconsin, Platteville. Who are you? Um, that was kind of nice. once again, seeing familiar faces for the first time was kind of fun. And we had a good crew there. I think Dom can attest. The people that went, it was a fun crew this year, and everyone was like genuinely ready to go. Right at the cuff. The snow was fun to make it down in, but what you gonna do? It's blizzards.
When did you guys get in?
We got there around right when the keynote started, so we got there maybe at 8.
Yeah, I
Because we stopped for dinner
left
and the
work
snow
early.
started right when we ate.
Yeah, Bolzar's car also did that. It was rough for the Madison kids. Like getting on the first group was
Yes.
able to make it, but they still made it late. And then I was after the keynote. There were still the questions about everything that was going to happen, like with the
Hmm.
ritual, the guidebooks, etc., etc. And their cars because they were just going as slow as, and they didn't make it till like nearly like 9 o'clock, 10. And because I only made it because I left work early, and driving on what is that? Is it 39 or 90, Austin, from Milwaukee to Chicago? What's the one that goes north to south?
Bro, you know what? I'm not really good with roads.
Oh
I just type it
man,
in the GPS and just go. I don't care what the
I
signs
don't
say. Like,
remember what it was.
my thing
But
talks to me. I want to guess that
yeah,
it's 90.
but no, even numbers
Let's
are
fact
east to
check
west. I
myself.
thought. I don't know. Well, either way, it was an interstate highway that was very easy from Milwaukee to Chicago, and I left and I got there just as the snow started. I walked out to get my haircut. I
90,
immediately left my
94.
haircut. Is
Or 9. No, it
no
is 90. It is 90. It is 90.
90? Okay,
There you go.
because
See it?
94 is east to west, Madison to Milwaukee, or I guess
Yeah.
it technically Twin Cities all the way down to
Yep.
Milwaukee. I don't know. We're losing it today. Today's a rough day for.
It's a Thursday. We're recording on a Thursday. It's been a long week.
Oof, yeah.
um,
But no, the moment I left my haircut, I walked 3 blocks, and it was the longest 3 blocks of my life.
I forgot that you guys were like. I didn't even think about that because obviously we got the snow too, like in the Quad Cities, and like I think we had no school Wednesday, went back to school Thursday, and then
Yup.
Friday I think was like questionable, or it all hit like after the fact, I guess after school was over. But like we were just like kind of ready for it too. So I guess I didn't even think about that.
It made the
What a
pool
fun
fun because
adventure.
the pool was heated, and we got to. Ryan started a
Oh, that
movement
was a
as we
cool pool.
learned at the keynote about doing snow angels in the snow, then jumping back into the pool. And then a snowball fight broke out, and then the classic pool whirlpool with all the SigEps singing songs, like
Like fun.
college kid things.
Yeah.
College kids things. Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah. So you've just had a busy spring. Now you get to calm down a little bit.
Only a
You guys
month
have a lot
in.
of
Yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
month in, yeah. You guys have a couple of or like you guys have a pretty busy month. Like I was talking with Robert, our comms guy, and he was showing
Yep.
me all the events you guys have like
As
coming
recruitment
up.
wraps up, we can now dig all the way into programming. Like we have laser tag in 2 weeks. We have hockey next weekend. Tom Barton's coming in Wednesday for Barton Spartans, amongst many other things.
Yeah, yeah. Like we were looking, like I said, we were planning out the calendar for posts, and I was just like, "Holy cow!" Like, there's too much stuff that we don't even need to put like our filler posts in. Like, you guys will be fine. Not to
Yep.
mention, you guys also have spring break already, like coming up, and then
Yep.
I'm assuming like you're well, maybe it's more programming. Like, who's all planning like the retreat that you guys are doing? Like, I could see that kind of falling both
Yeah,
you and
that's
programming.
usually probably gonna end up being Nate with programming.
Mm.
Programming usually takes their spring banquet. Since no spring banquet, it's the retreat. I think we're maybe in talks of maybe doing something with Madison and Loris. I have no
Oh.
clue. We've thrown out a lot of ideas for what we want to
Mm.
do. Nothing's locked in. Probably should gig on that, but ah.
Eh. Yeah, you guys will figure it out. It's like you said, it's the
We
beginning of the
got plenty of
semester.
time.
Plenty of time, yeah. And like I said, you guys got enough events like going on where, give or take, it'll work out in the end. All right, as we get to like the end of the most current stuff, I had a question that I meant to ask earlier about like the exec board stuff, but I just wanted to
Mhm.
like I had mentioned to you at the beginning, like talk to us about the first e-board you came in. You were a freshman, you were young, inexperienced, you're learning from um, the older guys that were there. And now you're on the other side where like again, you're still a sophomore, but like you're more experienced now. And
Yeah, yeah,
you guys have like this new e-board that is like a lot of sophomores, couple juniors, and then like a couple of freshmen as well. So it's like a little more balanced
yeah.
out. Like talk to us about the differences from going from like that to going to um this position now where you're a little more experienced and you're kind of blooding in like these young freshmen into their first positions.
Yeah. So, like I kind of mentioned earlier, the first e-board we had PDK to be a lot more hands-on because a lot of us had no clue what the heck we were doing. Uh, we had a lot of seniors actively like helping, and I'm not saying they don't help now, but with the new e-board, there's a lot more like people know what they're doing. Everyone's a lot more comfortable. Um, our new guys, Robert and Ben, like they fit in great. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
confident what they're doing. Everyone can easily just jump right into whatever we need to do. So I'd say there's a lot more confidence this semester. Um, Definitely has to do with age. Like having a couple older guys that have seen stuff before definitely makes like little things that like oh no this is happening go by
Mm-hmm.
much easier when people actually know what's going on. Um, Last board I think definitely was a lot more. While everyone shared ideas, it was a lot more. Everyone kind of does their own role, probably because we all had to figure out what the heck we were doing. This board is a lot more helpful. Like everyone's sharing a lot more of what they need to do, so people can help with tasks a lot more. And I would say, to your point of being like a more experienced sophomore, it's definitely weird having. I'm 1 year older than our newest guys, and they're looking up to me like, "Oh, that's a great idea." To like, "Oh, how can we do this or something?" I'm like, "This is weird. I'm only a year older." Like,
That's what happens when you get involved in all this stuff right away. Like like I said, like
you get
people
all
are
your
looking up
medals,
to you
right?
now. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Um, yeah, I mean, like I said, I've obviously been involved with like both sets of e-boards and like talking to people on
Yep.
the undergrad side of things. Like, um, I definitely kind of see that same thing that you were kind of talking about. Like, it seems like a lot of people is just like, we're figuring out what we're doing. So like I felt like maybe relied a little more on talking with their like ABC mentors and stuff, and like
Yes.
trying to not saying that they're not relying on them now, but like
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
there's a little more independence. Like
hmm
they're trying some different things. Like
We know what we're
you,
doing a little bit now.
yeah, and you guys are, and not only are you guys like you know what you're doing a little bit, but it's like you guys are really bringing in a lot of different and like new ideas. Like you like I really liked what you guys did with recruitment in the spring, like being again like my recruitment mindset. I'm just like,
Yeah.
spring always we just kind of anticipate we're not going to get a lot of guys, blah blah blah, whatever. Like even though we try, and what you guys implemented this spring with like the raffles and trying to do like a mini BMS, I think it kept being described as like
Throwing the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. Yep.
exactly.
Resume workshops before the career fair. Yeah.
And I'm just like, it was such a simple idea. It's like, why didn't I think about this like earlier? Like, you know. So it's just
Yeah,
like
it's
you
definitely
guys are.
fun to see execs take more bold approaches because everyone is so comfortable and we got each other's support. Not to mention, like our my joining class was very like we had a handful of people get involved and then a handful of people that of course went to stuff but weren't as hands on. This
Mhm.
year's new guys, out of like the 15, I'd say at least like 8 of them are actively involved in cabinets and doing stuff. And that makes it a lot easier to do stuff when you have all this fresh energy ready to go. And like, I see myself like in a lot of them, like, I want to do XYZ and like, just get me here and do this. So it's really fun to see. Like, when we had 2 or 3 freshmen run for conclave delegate, like, that doesn't usually happen. Like, it's cool to
Yeah.
see them get excited.
just shows that you guys recruited the right guys. and all the freshmen have been fantastic from the little interaction I've had with them. But yeah, I mean, it's a good direction to take the chapter. Let's talk about conclave here before we kind of wrap things up. So obviously, like it was just last meeting, right? Like Sunday, you guys voted on conclave reps, and so you're gonna be conclave rep. That's a really exciting position. I was an alternate, but then I got to step in because Corbett got picked to do like the voting for like the national board of directors. So so it was cool for me because I was like, again, I was just kind of there originally to be like, you know, I'll step in if I need to, and I'm just going to go to all these other tracks. And then they just threw me in on all this voting, and it was the most fun I ever had, especially because I didn't get to, I didn't get to do like Ruck and all this stuff. Like it was my opportunity to be like, oh, I'm connecting with all these other guys that are, you know, very knowledgeable of what their chapters kind of need and what's kind of going on, and getting to have a lot of those discussions. So yeah, I mean, obviously you got the repertoire and everything that you've been doing where like you're going to be probably one of the perfect fits to go in there and kind of talk about some of that stuff.
I talked with Jason Carter a lot before I ran about what to expect, what delegate looks like and all that stuff. And then just at Ruck, they called it drinking the Kool-Aid. When you would get all this national programming, you were going to get hyped and want to do everything, but you got to like, nope, calm down. What do we actually want to do? And so the jokes that like I have all this national like let's go because I CLA twice, Ruck once, actively involved with lots of other chapters. So it I was pretty ambitious to want to do delegate because I know so many chapters, like I get what other chapters think is right or whatever and the different perspectives. So I'm ready to hash it out in the legislative floor, the exploding field of Robert's rules, you know.
Bro, it is a different like beast. Like because like the way it worked when I did it, it was like I can't even remember how many different pieces of legislation got brought up, but like it was like 2 days of like debating and like splitting off into groups. Like my group had like a couple of things, and of course I think I got thrown in with one of the ones that was talking about like our national like drinking ban. And so then that was the one that was going to have a lot. Yeah, exactly. It was going to be the one that had a ton of discussion. So then to like have our committee meet and talk about it and hash it out and then come with our position and then have, you know, again, random people stepping up to talk about it and have a friendly debate about it was something else. Like it literally felt like you were on the floor of like the Senate, like fighting people.
As part of the Tragos application, one of it's what's the last book you read? And as I was filling out the Tragos application, which I didn't get selected for this year, Ryan and Josh did. Unfortunately, did not make it.
It was so unfortunate.
Yeah, but because I was running for president the same time, or getting ready for president the same time the Tragos applications came out. For the question of what's the last book you read, I put Robert's Rules of Order, the 11th edition, because I was studying up for president. And so I got to bring that back out again for the conclave elections.
Yeah, like I said, it's a great experience, and conclave as a whole, like not even just doing that part, but obviously
I'm
like
so excited.
The brothers ceremonies and getting to see like all the rituals with everybody and just like walking the town and like seeing, you know, SigEps all over the place. Like where's it at?
Taking home our third butt cup.
Taking home our third butt cup. That's the plan. You guys just finished up the application. I heard it went well. Came a little close to the wire.
Sucks.
Came a little bit close to the wire. But you guys got it done. That's all. That was the big point. So yeah, hopefully that will that'll come to fruition. We're manifesting. It's in Miami, right? It's in Florida.
Tampa,
Florida.
Tampa, you know,
in August for some reason.
That's the worst time.
If they pick the warmest months for the warmest states, they, you know.
Don't worry, a suit in Florida is going to feel incredible.
In the pool.
In the pool. I got to go to Houston, so I'm not really complaining. That was a good time.
I don't know. Swampy heat and is not something for me.
No, definitely.
I will respect Houston heat. You know, I'll take it. I'll take it in stride. You know, and especially because I could have gone, you know, to all these cool places, but Tampa's Tampa. There's a couple cool places, and then I'm just wet.
They need to bring it to
I'm
Chicago,
walking
bro.
water.
Bring it
New
to
York City.
Chicago.
I'll take New York. I'll take Seattle. You know,
Ooh, Seattle would be
why
cool.
not California? Go to LA, and then
Seattle would
right
be
after,
sick.
go to Universal Studios. Hit up Mario World.
Yes.
I was thinking about going this year, but I was like, yeah, the time of the year that's going on was not that great, and it's not a great location. I'll hold off until it's somewhere a little more fun.
I'm gonna at least try to go to Virginia this year for my first like big old solo vacation. I was talking with Jace earlier this year, and we were gonna talk about hiking up in Virginia and Richmond.
That'll be a good time.
As adults, things always happen, but I'm gonna push for it. So who knows? But that's my goal this year is to hit up Richmond.
We'll hold it to you then.
Absolutely.
All right. I think we've hit just over an hour talking about all your stuff, Ty. Is there anything else that we missed? Anything else you want to talk about? I want to be respectful of everybody's time and not take too much. Ty's missing out on poker night right now. He decided to give up his poker night to come here and talk with us.
America's second favorite pastime, gambling.
He said everybody was going all out for it, right? People were dressed up in suits and stuff. Like,
yeah, we had. I know at least like 6 or 7 guys are wearing suits, so we're gonna get some pretty good. We're gonna get some pretty good post material.
Good stuff. And this is the last recruitment event, you said, right? So, like, I saw that you guys are giving away the gift card
$100 giveaways tonight. We have the wheel all set for it, and it's all off to informals.
Sweet, cool. Well, like I said, I don't have anything else. Dom, you got anything you want to talk about before we head out?
I don't think I do. You guys are doing phenomenal, and it's funny. I tell everyone this. Like, there is so much going on with the undergraduate and AUC. You guys are a well-oiled machine. You can throw a rock at you guys, and nothing's going to change. The drive and the veracity. Jesus, it's been a long day. What the point is, tenacity. We'll go with instead. Is with you guys is ridiculous. You guys by far
We have a great
are
chapter,
phenomenal
for
chapter.
sure.
Yeah,
And
you guys
from an outside perspective, working with other chapters, I do sometimes feel lost, like that I'm not even close in terms of how I can relate because I'm so used to the Platteville. Like BK and I always talk about like the whole roll up your sleeves mentality at Platteville. That it is a real thing when you see working with numerous other chapters, and those kids are phenomenal in their own right, but it is a whole different monster working at Platteville.
That's what you get when you put a bunch of engineers in a room rather than some business majors.
Man, you're telling me.
You got these blue collar Wisconsin engineer boys. They're gonna get stuff done.
That's right.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys. Ty, thank you for coming on again. It's great talking with you every time I see you. I feel like we have a lot of conversation, and I get to keep seeing you grow, which is awesome. So hopefully we'll be able to do this in a year from now, like we did with Ryan.
Only halfway there through my SigEp journey, so there's time.
Yeah, exactly. So again, hopefully you're gonna come on next year. We're gonna do a state of the chapter with you as Mr. President, and get to have that conversation. So, good luck to you the rest of the semester. I'm sure we're gonna see each other a couple more times this year. So, you guys keep killing it. Yeah, thank you for just coming on and chatting with us.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Dom, you want to send us out?
Ooh, I can absolutely do that. All right, I want to
let you do the intro and the closing.
Okay, let's do this let's do this radio style. I want to thank everyone for coming out today. It has been an absolute treasure to have you here with us. No, okay, that's way too boring. I'm so sorry. Okay, thank you, Ty, actually, so much for coming on. It's been a blast. I know we've definitely got a chance to hang out a little bit here and there, but it's nice to talk about and hear more about your SigEp journey in a professional way. By far, that is something that is extremely inspirational. Being an alumni first, and then hearing a freshman got programming, and then a freshman got to Ruck out of nowhere, and always hearing who the hell is this kid, and then coming on to meet is an incredible person such as yourself. So it's been an absolute treat, and I'm really happy that we've been able to at least form a relationship of where I can message you questions because I'm so confused to what's going on.
I don't know what you're talking about. Communication's crystal clear always.
Yeah. Welcome to college, kids. No. It's not better in the adult world either. We're doing our best. But to everyone coming on and listening, thank you so much. If you guys have any questions for us, if you have any questions for wanting to be on, involved, helping out, the podcast, the ABC, the undergraduates can always use the lending hand. So, without a doubt, though, have yourself a great day, evening, whenever you're listening to this. Hope you're doing well and take care.
Make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel. We are. I'll throw this little tidbit in there. I had a conversation with Robert, again, our comms guy, and it sounds like you guys are going to start doing a bunch of stuff on the YouTube channel. So I gave him the credentials. We're going to have it all on.
We've got a couple ideas.
He gave me some of the little snippets, and I was like, this sounds good. I like what you guys are doing. So
I'm so excited.
So that was the whole point of doing this YouTube channel. So make sure you guys are subscribing. You're going to see our podcasts on there, but now there's also going to be content from the undergrads doing a bunch of fun stuff. So make sure you guys are subscribing if you want to keep up with all that stuff. Because right now we only have a couple subscribers anyway. And I know that there's I can see the analytics. I know how many people are watching the videos. So if you're watching and you're not subscribed, subscribe. All right, that's it. I don't have anything else. We'll see you guys later. Peace out.